measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at it.
I lost. I lost bad.
It's like you say, the most important thing is that they tried their hardest and they have fun.
No. The most important thing is that they win.
Every one of those kids should have a chance to play.
Look at the adjective. Play. We ain't here to play.
Is to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I gotta say.
At least I came in second.
Friends forever. Scott Pioli, Matt Castle, friends forever, Noah.
Add Romeo and Brian Dable in there, too. They'll all be friends forever.
You know what? They can be friends forever, but I don't any longer support any of them being a part of this football team any longer. They can be friends forever somewhere else. This is a disaster. I think this game pretty much sums up the regime, which is a team that looked flat, punchless, and inept in every aspect of the game on Sunday at Arrowhead in front of another capacity crowd, another beautiful day, wasted at Arrowhead Stadium.
Well, you got Brian Daboll and Romeo Crennel and Matt Castle out there. I never wanted any of those people here. I like the Romeo Crennel hire as a defensive coordinator, but I did not want him promoted as head coach. Brian Daboll, I wanted Al Saunders as offensive coordinator instead of Brian. I was very unhappy he was hired just because he's a friend. And Matt Castle, I was never happy with that trade. I just thought he was another Steve Bono or Elvis Gerbach, but he turns out to be even worse than those two.
Well, let's go back to that. I mean, you have been pounding this drum. A lot of people are just now waking up, coming onto the bandwagon. Castle sucks. Okay, this is a topic that's been worn out over the last couple of years. Because, yes, it is obvious that this starting quarterback thing is not for you, Matt Castle. That's fine. You know what? He seems like a great guy. I'm sure he's wonderful in the community. His wife is great. But I'll tell you what, starting quarterback in the NFL is not for him. You know what? Laying concrete and being a construction worker was not for me. You know what? It wasn't. So the
thing is, you didn't get $60 million out of the deal, did you?
Well, you know what? He bankrolled himself from that one season in New England. Thank you, Bernard Pollard, for that. And bankrolled his career into $60 million. But going back to the trade itself in 2009, Scott Pioli makes this trade as his first really order of business upon becoming our general manager. Really tied himself to Matt Castle, gives him the huge contract. You didn't like it from the beginning. I was with it. Could go either way. You hated it. Why?
I absolutely hated it. I still hate it to this day, and I'll hate it forever. I mean, he is just not a good quarterback. He has no arm. He does not have the talent to win a playoff game, and that's what this is about.
Playoff game?
Yes.
How about a game? How about a game at home versus the Chargers?
Well, he doesn't have enough talent to do that either.
Well,
but
starts somewhere.
Well, he's shown that in 2010, he can win games, but he just doesn't have the arm. He cannot make all the throws. He is a god-awful quarterback. I thought when we made the trade he'd be a Gerbach-Bono type, like I said, and he's just not even that. He is just god-awful.
We know that. I mean, it's not working, and that we're going to get into that later. And by the way, Jeris McIntyre, ex-Chief, is going to come on and help us dissect what happened in this game here a little later, guys. So make sure you stay tuned for that, because he's going to bring it, I think, on this team just like we are, because we're all upset. But Matt Castle, for yet again, it's if you're 29, 30 years old like Castle is, and in this offseason had to go work with a pitcher in L.A. on velocity just to make the ball go faster. That's a problem. That is a huge problem.
It's not all Matt Castle's fault, though. I've heard a lot of people blaming Matt, saying it's all his fault. Brian Daboll and Romeo Crennel are horrible at their jobs. Romeo is not a head coach. He's just has no given talent to be a head coach. He doesn't have the motivation. He can't be stretched by being defensive coordinator and head coach. Brian Daboll he's never done it anywhere. He shouldn't be in the NFL. He's god-awful.
You feel almost at this point with Romeo, and this is what I'm feeling like. I see Romeo out there, Every press conference is the same. We played a game. We didn't win it. Here's the deal about Romeo Crennel. If he was my grandfather, I would love nothing more than to go to Christmas dinner with Romeo Crennel as my grandpa, sit on his lap, and hear stories about the past. As a head coach, it is obvious the man doesn't have the fire. He does not have the desire. He doesn't have the will to sit there and motivate a football team and to get them ready to play. It's blatantly obvious, and this is done. I'm telling you what, guys, this has to be done. Noah, we're going into an off season, and the Chiefs aren't going to win more than 4 or 5 games. God knows we will string together 5 meaningless wins, but we still are going to have a chance to draft a quarterback. Here's something we haven't done since 1983. We're tired of talking about that. Do you trust Scott Pioli to be the guy that stands in there and drafts the quarterback, even if we were ever to do it? Can Pioli do that?
I don't know if Pioli can do it. I mean, if we lose Bo or we lose Albert in free agency, he might go and say, hey, we got to replace that position, and we'll go pick up a Matt Moore or something like that. Another Steve Bono, Elvis Gerbach type, in my opinion.
No, this is terrible. Noah, every team in this league, since the Chiefs have drafted a quarterback in the first round, every one of them. You know how many rookies started on Sunday? 6 of them. You know how many the Chiefs passed on? 3. But guess what? People talk about how, you know what? Well, the Chiefs weren't in a position to get RG3 or Andrew Luck. Well, guess what? The Washington Redskins weren't either. The Washington Redskins sat there and gave up picks and got up and get the quarterback that they needed. Have you noticed that quarterbacks are out there winning games? Has that not occurred to anybody?
I think Robert Griffin just led a 2-minute drill to win the game against Tampa Bay. I think that happened.
So here's the deal. Here's what Washington gave up. The equivalent for the Kansas City Chiefs, this is what Washington gave up to move up in the draft to draft for RG3. For the equivalent to the Kansas City Chiefs' current roster and draft pick position is, they gave up a Tyson Jackson, a Glenn Dorsey, and a Jeff Allen. 2 number 1s and a number 2. And they got their quarterback. Give me a quarterback. I don't care. Find one. It's Geno Smith threw 8 touchdowns for West Virginia on Saturday. Give him to me. Get him. I'm tired of this. I'm not watching any more of this ineptitude at the quarterback position, and it starts with our general manager. Or is it Clark Hunt saying, don't do it? I don't know. Someone needs to get me a quarterback.
But what if we are in the middle of the draft? I mean, it's going to cost way more than what Washington gave up. They were already high in the draft. I believe there were 4, maybe 6, I think, and they moved up to 2. We were at 11. It would have cost us even more
to move
up.
God. You're right. It might have cost us Dontari Poe as well. Could you have lived with yourself?
Yes, I could have.
You could live with yourself. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. No matter how you shake it, no matter what position the Chiefs try to tell you they're trying to fill each stupid, ridiculous draft and offseason, it doesn't matter when you don't have the quarterback to get it done. I'm sorry. It does not matter. I don't care how many Dontari Poes we have. I don't care if we have Vince Wilfork and if we have Casey Hampton. It doesn't matter. You've got to find that quarterback. I'm banging the drum, man. It's got to happen. It's
I
this
hear
year
you.
or never.
I agree. We have to get a quarterback, but if we still have no head coach and no offensive coordinator, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. I still don't see this team win a playoff game with a quarterback but no head coach and no coordinator.
Well, this whole thing's tied. This whole thing's tied to Scott Pioli, this Castle thing, and this Romeo thing. We talked about it in 2008. Carl Peterson was apparently going to be very patient, giving Herm Edwards time to develop this young team. He brought in all 21-year-olds to play and to have his team that way. That team went 2-14, and guess what? As the losing mounted, they just couldn't justify keeping him, any of them. I mean, Carl got fired, then Herm got fired, and it started there. We're at that position again. We are at the 2008 Carl and Herm decision again.
I think they all need to go. Pioli needs to go. Romeo, Brian, and Matt. And I know people are going crazy and they want something to change and they think that it should just be Matt or maybe Romeo, or I think it needs to be all of them. Pioli, he put his job on the line when he gave Matt that $60 million contract, when he brought in Todd Haley, when he brought in Romeo, when he let Romeo bring in Brian Daboll, and he's going to have to pay for that, and he's going to pay for it with his job.
Now that is absolutely true, and that's going to happen because this goes further and further out of control, which it is. By the way, the Baltimore Ravens are coming to town on Sunday. That's going to be great. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Haloti Ngata. They're just going to throw Matt Castle out. Romeo has already said we're starting Castle again. Obviously, just feeding him to the wolves, perhaps.
I mean, and what about bringing in Rapati Patoa-Tua? I mean, we draft Jackson.
Did you say that name right?
Yes, Rapati Patoa-Tua.
Good job.
Thank you. And we brought in Jackson and Dorsey as top 5 picks. Ropati Patoa comes in, has a better game than Dorsey or Jackson have had in their entire careers. Think about that.
That's my point about this whole draft thing. You drafted Glenn Dorsey, you drafted Tyson Jackson. Those are first-round picks. Who cares? That, Patoa comes in, he had 2 sacks yesterday.
Oh, those 3-4 defensive ends aren't supposed to get sacks. What?
No, exactly. That's what they want us to believe with regards to Jackson and Dorsey. Glenn Dorsey, on Scott Pioli's defense on that, he is not. He drafted Glenn Dorsey. That's
True.
He's playing out of position, and I doubt he'll be a Chief in 2013. But good. I love the point about that because here's a guy, Patoa, just off the scrap heap, coming in, making plays more than Dorsey or Jackson ever have in their careers.
Defensive player of the week for the Chiefs. Definitely.
Oh, no doubt about it. This is, and back to the game, I mean, when you're talking about an offense giving up 6 turnovers at home, 5 in the first half, I mean, the defense had no chance in this game. They didn't play well particularly, but they had no chance. Short fields, how many?
Well, maybe they would have had a chance if Matt Castle wouldn't have thrown the ball 10 yards out of bounds when Dwayne Bowe was wide open on the left sideline.
We saw this all day. We've seen it all season. I've seen enough. The Chiefs, they are the worst team in football. The Kansas City
Chiefs and Browns, they're running for it.
They're running for it, and I'll tell you, the Kansas City Chiefs have not led for a second of football. Not 1 second has ticked off a clock in 2012 with the Chiefs in the lead. You know what? They beat the New Orleans Saints because my theory is they were trying to run the ball out, run the clock to get that gosh darn game over with.
And then Jamal goes 91 yards. You're like, wait a second, maybe we got something here. Just keep giving him the ball.
Do you agree with me that that's what I think they were just trying to run the clock out, get that game over with?
I don't know about running the clock out, but they were just like, well, we can't have Matt throw the ball. He's been high all day, so we'll just give the ball to Jamal, see what happens, and bam. Their prayers got answered that day, but not last Sunday.
Or the 2 Sundays before that. And so rest assured, this is an awful, awful mess of a football team. A football team that many of you had expectations for before the season started. A team that many picked to win the AFC West, Sports Illustrated. So what in the world is this? How can you justify a team that has such lofty expectations to see where they are a quarter of the way through the season?
Well, I mean, I didn't have very high expectations for them. I thought they could have a run at winning the division against the Broncos with Peyton Manning, and I thought the Chargers would be in there, but I didn't have very high expectations about winning a playoff game or a Super Bowl like some people were talking about because Matt Castle's our quarterback, and Brian Daboll's our offensive coordinator, and Romeo Crennel's our head coach, and I don't think any 3 of those are qualified to be at the positions they're at right now.
Let me ask you this. When Scott Pioli was hired in 2009?
Loved it.
Me too. But
I
why?
thought it was a great hire. I thought that he orchestrated what happened with the Patriots. Obviously, they lucked into Tom Brady. Obviously, Bill Belichick is a great coach, but I thought Pioli had something to do with it. Obviously, we were wrong.
We were wrong about that one. And I credit the Chiefs for trying. The Chiefs tried. I think Clark Hunt tried. He went out and got this general manager. They got a quarterback.
That's why I have hope that the owner's trying to do the right thing, and he just keeps getting unlucky with horrible hires. Maybe turn out to be horrible.
Maybe that's the case, and maybe Clark right now is seeing the fans leave Arrowhead Stadium before halftime. By the way, before halftime.
I thought they were just getting their hot dogs, but they never came back.
Well, usually, I mean, the atmosphere is so great. You want to go outside and have a cool one, I guess. Maybe turn on the flat screen and watch the second half. That's what some people do, I hear. Certainly that would not be us in most situations, but in this case, I don't blame anybody who left that stadium. And don't come back if you really want to, turn Clark Hunt's eye. Now, there's a lot of season left to go. The Chiefs are going to string together some wins in ridiculous fashion that are just going to cost us draft position. We know how this works. And then they may try to, what if they try to sell, worst case scenario for me, tell me if you agree, is the Chiefs finish with a record of 5-11 or 6-10. Matt Castle continues to throw for these gaudy numbers that they love to talk about, 1,000 through 4 games, largest in franchise history, which is a joke, by the way.
Beating Joe Montana by 2 yards, so obviously he's better than Joe Montana.
No doubt. Is there any chance they try to sell this bill of goods again following a 5-11? Is there any chance at all?
I didn't think there'd be any chance this year that they try and sell us Matt Castle, and when they did, I didn't renew my season tickets. It's as simple as that. And if they do it again, I won't go buy season tickets. I mean, I will just not go to the games. I went to the Atlanta game because it was Tony Gonzalez's last game in Arrowhead. I had to see that. But other than that, I will not be at a game this season.
Well, and here's the deal. I agree with you because when it comes to this quarterback situation, I'm not going to attend another game myself until there's at least a different one out there. Specifically, drafting one. Now, I'll tell you what. When it comes to drafting a quarterback, the Washington Redskins not only drafted one, they drafted two. I'm not suggesting the Chiefs have to do that, but you've got to go that way in the first round. It's time. All the other teams in the NFL, aside from a couple, have their quarterback, have their young quarterback. The Chiefs, it's time for them to do that. Now,
if the Chiefs would have taken my advice, and since they are not qualified to be picking because they don't know what they're doing, if they would have taken my advice, drafted a quarterback in every single round, we might have a Russell Wilson. We might have a Ryan Tannehill. I don't know if we had moved up in the first round, but, I mean, we could have had some sort of quarterback. We might have had Brandon Whedon. But anyway,
yikes,
we would have had something at quarterback, and it would have been something good if we could have got Russell Wilson maybe.
I'll tell you what. My idea for the offseason is this. You draft one. It's Geno Smith, one of the top 10 guys. Just Geno Smith threw 8 touchdowns and 5 million yards last week. Let's just draft him, okay?
I disagree with that to a point. I disagree with that in this sense. If we try to move up, and for some reason we don't, which is inexplicable, they have to move up if they know that their guy is there. If we sit at 17 or whatever, and our draft guys say, this guy's awful, he's not worth it, he's not good.
Which is what they'll say.
I don't think
our scouting department will say that.
I don't think we should take him. I really don't.
You're willing to trust... Our scouting department didn't like Matt Ryan, Noah.
I agree.
Come on!
I agree, but I think there's going to be changes. There should be changes in the scouting department. The head scout, the GM, all sorts of scouts. I think we should just dump them all and rehire.
I don't agree with you in just having them tell you that they don't like any of the quarterbacks in this draft.
Wow,
you're going to take
that? They find the guy they like, they move up, and they get him. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
They do not settle for 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever. You find the guy you like, you go get him.
But to an extent, I see what you're saying. But if the one guy, if Andrew Luck wasn't there, okay, we had probably no chance at him.
We loved RG3. Romeo was all about RG3.
Get him then!
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah,
you find the guy you like. We liked RG3. You move up. You get him.
Absolutely. So let's get Geno Smith. We're going to be drafting in the top 10.
But if he's picked to go 2 or something, you move up and get him. You don't sit there and take Tyler Bray or something, and then he turns out to be a Croyle or whatever.
Maybe you do, though. Maybe you do have to sit there and take. I mean, there's going to be other quarterbacks.
I mean, you like him.
The Seattle Seahawks' #1 quarterback of choice might not have been Russell Wilson, but he's sitting there. They took him. He's their starter. You take the chance somewhere. There's something to like about a lot of these guys. There's 6 rookie starters. I mean, everybody. Andrew Luck couldn't have gone to everybody, so these guys had to make other decisions. They had Kirk Cousins goes to the Washington Redskins. My goodness, that's 2 quarterbacks taken, by them. But it's time. I'm sorry, it's time, and we're going to find out what Jeris McIntyre thinks as we bring him on. Chief, we're going to go ahead and get him on the line, see what he has to think about some of this. And coming back on the show, our good buddy Jeris McIntyre, ex-Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver. Jeris, thanks for joining us today. Unfortunately, not a victory Monday for the Kansas City Chiefs. What in the world was that at Arrowhead Stadium yesterday?
Man, I don't know. It's tough, man. They gotta get way more consistent, I think. It's hard to put blame on people, but you can't turn the ball over at the quarterback position for the most part. I mean, they have the talent, like I've said time and time again. I just think that they have to definitely be consistent. Don't turn the ball over and make plays when need be.
Yeah, you saw 6 turnovers there in this game yesterday. 5 in the first half. 3, of course, were interceptions, and 2 were uncharacteristic Jamal Charles fumbles. I know that's not really his MO, but my goodness, this just looks like a really poorly coached, poorly prepared team in pretty much all facets. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, it looks like things aren't clicking. I mean, sometimes it's tough to say if it's the coaches or they're not well prepared, because at the end of the day, when they kick the ball off, the players are on the field and they have to make the plays. And we all know football, turnovers, you don't win the game. I mean, like you said, Charles, with the uncharacteristic fumbles and caps with all the interceptions and things of that nature, you won't win any games, regardless of if it's home or away. So I really think that needs to be a main focus going in for the rest of the season is to eliminate the turnover battle. And, we have a good D for the most part. Some ball and Jamal Charles making the big plays that he's been making all season. If we can keep that and eliminate the turnovers, I think we will be successful and win some games, win more games than not.
What do you see from the quarterback position? Matt Castle looked like he really struggled out there. Even the past 4 years, he's really struggled with his accuracy and his arm strength, and he's very limited at the position.
I don't know. It's tough. It's very, very tough to say. Different coordinators and things of that nature. I don't know how physically talented he was for the most part coming into the NFL. He was a late round pick and put up big numbers that year in New England. And got the money and came to Kansas City with fanfare, and I think people were hoping to see a Pro Bowl quarterback in Matt Castle, and it's been things that went on from the offensive line to change coordinators and things of that nature. So I don't want to put the blame solely on him, but at the end of the day, he can't turn the ball over and he has to make the plays. So it hasn't been rosy. It's just time in Kansas City. I mean, there's been bright spots, here and there, but for the most part, if you're a quarterback, you have to be very, very consistent, and I don't think that's what, he hasn't, been too consistent throughout his career. I think he's very capable. With the intangibles and what we saw those, 3, 4, 5 years, or 3, 4, 5 years ago in New England. I mean, he's definitely capable, but he has to show,
Well, and of course, when you played in Kansas City, I mean, it was Carl Peterson was in there. I mean, can you just talk about how, and I don't know how familiar you are with the going-ons behind closed doors, in the NFL, but Carl Peterson was in Kansas City before. That was obviously not working. Like how much, I mean, these general managers really sit back there with as much power as we think they do as far as, on-field decisions for a football team?
I definitely think they do sit back and they have the power. It's just, the decisions they make. And I think a lot of us look from the outside, look in and say, like, okay, that was a crazy decision. That wasn't a good trade. And I guess that is a tough position being a GM. And one bad decision or one, unlucky decision with, a player being hurt or not being the player that you thought he would be in the trade could definitely derail a franchise for a couple years or for years to come. And I think that they do have that power, and at times they make the right decision, at times they make the wrong decision. I think that's part of being the GM. We would want them to make a better decision more often, the better decision more often than not. But I think there's no exact science into it. I think now, when they brought Castle in, the GM now is thinking, okay, you know what, I've seen what he can do. I know what kind of quarterback he is. Let me bring him on, and he will be able to be successful. And I mean, that's where we are now. And that trade looks as if it was, I guess, decent at best, and it look like it's gonna be for the better of the organization. And then that's just, that's the risk you take when you're dealing with free agency and trades, and GMs have draft picks and things of that nature. So. Yeah, they do have that. They do have that power, and I know Carl had the power when he was there from some of the trades that he made, and bringing in Clifford Mill. So they do have that power, and sometimes the decision is right, sometimes it's bad, but you want it to be right more often than not.
With the hiring of or promoting of Romeo Crennel to head coach and the hiring of Brian Daboll, they both had bad track records in their current positions of head coach and offensive coordinator. So where do you stand, putting your GM hat on, where do you stand on track record, but Romeo got the players to play for him at the end of last year, and then weighing everything?
Yeah, I think with the GM now, he had a background and he had familiarity with Romeo Crennel, and with him being able to ride that team when he was the interim head coach or whatnot, I think that gave him the okay and the confidence that, okay, we can build on this. So to me, could have went out look for a bigger name head coach or somebody that may have been better for that position, but with his familiarity with Romeo and the way he rides the troops with the young talent and Jamal Armstrong's being able to coming back and everybody coming back from their injuries, it looks like the right thing to do. I mean, from the outside, to me, it looked like the right thing to do. I know Romeo had his stint when he was in Cleveland, didn't work out well, but the way he rallied the troops in Kansas City, and without some of their best players being injured, I thought that, hey, you know what? If you do it with those guys, you should be able to do it with these same guys on top of the guys who were injured. So I thought that was a pretty good decision at that time. So it's tough to say. You never really know. But from the way they rallied and played ball, it looked like a decent decision when he made that decision.
I thought it was a bad decision at the time. I mean, Todd Haley had coached them throughout the year, and he was a yeller, a screamer, and Romeo's kind of a nice guy. So maybe the players were just a little bit thrilled that Todd Haley was gone. Romeo's in, a nicer guy, a guy they like. So they kind of played hard for him then. But with an off season and the beginning of the year, they just seem not to really be playing for him that hard. Do you think there's anything in that?
Yeah, there definitely could be. It definitely could be. Like we all know, Todd Haley is on your behind kind of coach, and Big Ben is figuring that out right now. So far, with him being in Pittsburgh, and I really think that could have been something that made those guys happy. Like, okay, hey, he's out of here. But you would think, if you're going to play for me for these last couple games, this upcoming season, it should be the same. I'm not going to be yelling. I'm not going to be a screamer. I'm going to get you prepared, mentally, physically. Let's go out here and play. You should want to play for me just like you did towards the end of last year. But it doesn't really look like that. And like I said, it's a lot of things that determine if a team is going to be good. And a huge part of it is turnovers and obviously being mentally and physically prepared. But turning over the ball like that, I don't think it's going to matter who is the head coach. I mean, we can't have that many turnovers in an NFL football game and think you're going to be victorious.
Okay, guys, we got Jeris McIntyre here with us talking about the Chiefs right now. Before we let you go, we gotta go back to your old alma mater here at Auburn. Kind of a rough start, but almost beat LSU a week ago. Where is this team right now? And do you still believe in Gene Chizik as you did when we talked last time?
Yeah, as of now, I definitely do, man. I mean, we have a young team, a young quarterback. Took LSU to the ropes. Could have won, should have won, but didn't. Played Clemson pretty well, which is another ranked team. So I think there's a future. Got a lot of recruits, young recruits, growing. So hopefully sometime by next year, hopefully, we will be back to where we need to be in the hunt of the SEC West. So we'll definitely see. But as of right now, I don't think there's time to panic. We're young, we're growing. So hopefully we'll be able to win some ball games, get into a bowl game this year, and then next year be ready to roll back in that SEC West.
I kind of wanted to get your thoughts, going back to the Chiefs here for a second, about the hiring of friends, or being a good old boy network. I mean, Carl Peterson hired Dick Vermeil, who was a good friend of his. After Dick left, he hired Herm Edwards, who was a good friend of his. Scott Pioli's come in. He hired Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel, good friends of his. Brought in Matt Castle. He knew him at New England. Romeo hired Brian Daboll, who's a good friend. They worked at the Patriots together. Brian Daboll and Romeo bring in Brady Quinn and Peyton Hillis, who are good friends, and worked together with the Cleveland Browns when Romeo was there. And they drafted Ricky Stanzi. Kirk Ferentz, the coach at Iowa, and Scott Pioli are good friends. So what do you think about all that?
It's funny you say that. I think that this whole, from the college game, I just think the whole coaching fraternity in general, from high school to college to the NFL, is all about it's a buddy system and who you know. It's not about, for the most part, what you know. And I think a lot of times in the National Football League, people hire who they're comfortable with. So I'm sure Scott Pioli is comfortable with Romeo and was comfortable with Charlie for the simple fact that he's worked with them. He knows that he will probably have the authority and not get any, nothing. It will be smooth sailing for the most part. If he wants this player, okay, I say I want this player. You know how I am as a general manager. We're going to get this player. I don't want this guy. Okay, we're not going to have this guy. Well, a lot of times if they were to hire, say, Bill Cowher, he probably is not as smooth sailing as easygoing as say Romeo Cornell or Charlie Weiss when it comes to personnel decisions. So he wouldn't be a guy that Scott Pioli would hire. I mean, not to say that he won't, but I'm just saying as far as having those kind of relationships, he may have not worked with Bill Cowell before, and he doesn't, have that working relationship the way he did with Charlie Weiss or a Romeo Cornell and things of that nature. So I think a lot of times in the NFL circle, dealing with personnel, the way we like to do things, the way we like to run meetings, the way the whole organization is run, I think you hire your friend or somebody you worked with before because they know how you work. And that's not always the best way to go about it because at the end of the day, it's about winning ball games. And if you hire your buddy who's not getting the job done, then you're probably going to tell your buddy that you got to get out of here in 2 or 3 years. So, and with Dick Vermeil and the Herm Edwards, Herm, you would think probably people would probably have thought of it when Mr. Vermeil retired, that Herm would be that guy, highly energized, young coach, up-and-coming kind of guy who won games in New York, but that didn't work out either. So it's tough to say, if you should or you shouldn't hire somebody that's a friend. It could be for the good, it could be for the bad, but I think for the most part, it's having that working relationship, having worked with that person before is the reason people hire people that they know are friends.
So do they put winning or friendship above winning, or do they talk themselves into, maybe this is the best thing for the team as well as him being my friend?
You know what? I think that it's probably both ways, but I think some of them are blind to the fact because they know, okay, well, this guy has been successful here with these players, the coordinator. He's my friend. I know how he is. I know he can call a defense, so let me hire him as my head coach. Not looking at it, can he be a head coach? Has he been a head coach? Is he the best guy for the job? So I think some of the times they look at they backtrack and they look at the relationship, they look at what they've done before, but I don't think they look at all the candidates and kind of say like, okay, I know you're my friend, but this guy may be better for this job. So it's tough to say if they put friendship before winning, but I think a lot of times they look at that working relationship and they look at that friendship and they hire according to that, obviously wanting to win games and thinking that friend would help them win games, but at the same time not looking at, hey, this guy could be better for that job.
Well, guys, this has been Jeris McIntyre. We're talking Chiefs, and Jeris, we appreciate you coming on today, giving us a hand here, giving us a little breakdown of what took place, and we'll see where we're at here in a couple weeks, and we look forward to having you on again, man.
All right, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And that was Jeris McIntyre, and we appreciate him being on. And good stuff. I agree with a lot of what he said. I mean, he's insightful. He knows this organization.
Obviously, he's been watching, so it was great to have him on. Great to hear his insights.
Can't disagree, man. I'll tell you what. We'll see where this thing goes. Baltimore comes to town next Sunday. Not a lot of analysis or astute looking into this game needed, I don't think, from us, Noah. They're going to beat us bad. It will be a sad day.
On a good note, I have a fantasy football team that has individual defensive players, which means...
You have a lot of Ravens?
No, but I see a lot in the waiver wire that I will be picking up. So
Ooh.
I should be scoring a lot of points this week, so you all can be happy about that. I suggest you all do the same if you have fantasy teams.
I'll tell you what, it's going to get ugly, and I think that the uglier the season gets, the more reality is going to set in for management. We'll see. Guys, want to continue to thank you for supporting the program, coming on, checking out all of our interviews. We got a lot of ex-Chiefs coming on and a lot more to come. We appreciate that. You coming to the Facebook page, giving us your input. We just really appreciate you guys and all the support from fans.
Oh, definitely. We wouldn't be here without you if we didn't have any likes. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this. So thank you all for liking the page, listening to everything. We love bringing these interviews to you and our insights on the team. We hope you're enjoying it.
Absolutely. Until next week, Clint Schweitzer, Noah Groniger here. Outsiders Podcast.